Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tech Downover. I'm joined today by my friend, 008, Jeff Blanchard, our co-host and secret agent, world-famous secret agent. He knows Miss Quarter Inch. How are you today, Jeff?
Good, thank you, Rick. So, haven't been doing any spying or James Bond things.
Well, no, it's summer right now. It's summer, so you have to take some time off.
Oh no, we're winter.
Oh, you're winter. You should be. You should be
in the darkness and the coldness, and that's
you should be in full
spy weather.
You should be in full bloom. And we are back. By the way, we're 40.
I said, I guess that means we'll do the intro.
I guess, yes. Sometimes the fingers move faster than our brains. So, sometimes I just think and it goes, and I go, "Oop, didn't want to do that." Anyway, we're 40 today.
40, yes.
40, which is really four.
4?
Yeah. I think I'm actually older than you right now. I mean, I'm younger than you. Let's see. You're, what are you, like 52?
52, yes.
52, so you're 7. Oh, wait, we're equal. I'm 61. That makes me 7, too.
Oh.
So we're both the same age right now, and this is show 40, which is 4.
Anything to get us younger than we actually are, but really doesn't make any difference. There's nothing we can do about it, so
yeah, that's
let's
true.
Just get over it. So.
Yep.
What have you been up to this week, Rick?
Not too much. A lot of work, a lot of playing around with the Canon 70D. That seems to be my camera of choice right now, and this weekend I'm going to go back and hit the GH4. Speaking of the GH4, Clark went on the GH4 site today, well, actually on the Panasonic site, to see if there was anything like the camera we're going to cover a little bit later, which is the Sony FS7. And we couldn't find anything that looked like that type of camera, which is, again, along the lines of the Canon C100 Mark II. But there was something very interesting. The Panasonic GH4 Pro is now available. And the Pro version for a whole $2,000. It's on special right now, right? It's on special for a while. $2,000 includes the $1,600 body of the Panasonic GH4 with the Wagyu or whatever it was called, the YGYU or something like that, sound attachment, which gave you SDI ports, several of them, I think up to 4 SDI ports, as well as XLR and metering. So now that went down to $400 from $2,000. It costs more than the camera originally, which brings up a good point. If you overprice something, nobody will buy it.
Well, it always goes to show when they do come out with these specials, they start getting lapped up, so you know that they were overpriced in the first place. But that's doing quite well, that GH4. It does a excellent quality, doesn't it?
It does. It's actually a good camera.
Because it's like the FZ1000. I must admit that's becoming my favorite carry-around, all-round camera. It's light, does a good 4K video, does an acceptable still frame shot, but it's good just to have when you don't want to carry a camera around.
And it has a mic input. Yeah,
and you can just do such a good quality. And then the GH4 is like that, but 10 times better because you've got replaceable lenses and just that little bit more control over things.
Right. Now, I only have one lens for it, but they said it's the all-around best lens to get for it, and that's I think it's the 12 to 35 millimeter lens. And it was $1,000. I mean, so the camera was $1,600. The lens was $1,000, and I left it at that because to get that audio unit, which I didn't really need, we don't really do SDI out in the field, that was a lot of money. That was another $2,100. And I just went, no, I don't need that one. So I went and bought some other camera equipment. But I've been thinking about this. Well, actually, shall we talk a little bit about the FS7? We have a little video of it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And this is from Philip Bloom. I believe this is only...
Yes, there's only a little bit of music behind it, so we can talk over it. But I saw this image and I thought, Gee, he does such a good quality.
He does. He does.
Video. Like all he's doing is sitting in a hotel window, pointing it out the window.
Oh, he's in a hotel.
So interesting.
Okay.
Sorry.
He's in the hotel.
It's just yeah.
Nice
and
view.
That's all he is. And I thought, gee, just doing the right angle and the right shots just makes it so interesting.
Sydney does look pretty.
Just come out.
But from what I've heard, Sydney's very nice, but Melbourne's actually nicer.
Well, we live here in Melbourne, and there's always that rivalry that Melbourne's much better than Sydney.
Yeah, they said short of the harbour, Sydney itself isn't as nice, whereas Melbourne, they call it the City of Lights. It's quite beautiful, but as I'm watching his video, he just has a beautiful look to it. It's just very nice, and that was with the Sony FS7, correct?
That's right, yes. But as I said, Sydney is lovely when you go there. I know going there for work, you go on the Sydney Harbour through there to Manly. And it's just such on the ferry. It's just such a nice ride with the camera in there. It just looks so beautiful. You just get some really nice shots there. And all the years I was working there, 3 times a month for 2 years, I never took my camera once, did I?
No, and I love the way he just did made it darker.
Yeah,
it came in.
Did really good shot in that. But that just goes to show you where I got on my comments, where people saying about, why shoot 4K? And there's just so many advantages to that. Like we keep saying, we don't need to everybody can view that image, but there is a lot of difference between shooting in 4K and just the 1080p with the end result with what.
Yeah, and normally we don't borrow things from other people only because it's not right. But we give Philip Bloom, go to YouTube, subscribe to his channel. He does absolutely beautiful work. And in fact, he did a little mini documentary recently about his father. I loved it. It was so touching and so well done. And you could see where Philip Bloom got some of his personality from, and obviously the feeling of wanting to excel. But we're big fans of Philip Bloom, so we're not taking from him, we're just sharing him with you. So thank you, Philip Bloom, for what you do, and we really appreciate the artwork you put into things as well as your reviews. I find them some of the best out there.
I do too, because he's so rounded. He's not always for everything. And he always disclaims what he's using and what he's been paid to do and all that. So I really do like it. And a lot of these people who do reviews on equipment that don't use it, but he actually works with things and does actual things that people pay him money for to with cameras. So he knows what he's talking about. And after looking at that mini documentary with his father, he's a real true professional. He's been in it all his working life. It's not just something he's picked up later. He said, I'm going to be a videographer. He's been doing that for years. Right.
And I like when his father said, I tended to like Philip best because he would give me money.
I thought that was quite honest, isn't he? Because he always gives me money. But it was just such a, how he's done such a good job when you can sit there for, what was it, about 25 minutes, I think
if not longer.
The thing was, and you just, that went quick. And it was just so interesting. And just a fella sitting there, good lighting, a good shot and good sound, the occasional flick off with a picture. It just goes to show you, if you just got the settings right, it does get people involved, isn't it? It's just a normal everyday story, really, like every family's got. But people don't tell it, and don't tell it that way. And
no.
I was thinking just before that, I thought it'd be great to do that with your parents, but we never get round to doing it.
And by the time it's so late by the time you get it, they're usually a couple of feet under, and it's just not quite right. Do we have any pictures of the FS7? No. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the FS7. I'm looking at it, and it is very similar to the Canon C100 Mark II. Really, kind of a combination of Mark II, the C100, and really the maybe even 500, because this is a true 4K camera, and which really, at the high end, I think the C500 is 4K, and none of the other ones really are. So you pay a lot more for Canon. I think it's $12,000 for the C300, if I'm not wrong, or $9,000.
Yes, I think that you're about right. Yes,
and it's $16,000
20 for the 5,
or 20, almost 20. So
I'll go around that.
All of these cameras are extremely overpriced. I'm sorry. There's nothing in that technology to really warrant that kind of pricing. When you consider that the Canon 5D Mark III is not far from it, when you consider the C100 is now down to about $6,000, and the differences between the C100 and the higher ones is really minimal. It's stuff that everybody else includes. So, I mean, an SDI port does not cost $6,000 more to put in. I have the Canon XA25 for $3,000, which has a full SDI port, a very good lens. It's not interchangeable lenses, but what I'm saying is I think they're overpriced. I don't see the rationale, and I've heard way too many reviewers talking about cameras like the FS7 and the Mark, the C100s and 300s and 500s, and they're just saying they're just overpriced. They're good, but when you look at the resulting videos on YouTube, are they really that much better than some of these GH4s and the 70D? Not that much better, if at all better. So it's just an interesting thing. I watched the review. One of my favorite reviewers is the Camera Store in Calgary, Canada. I love those two guys, Jason and what's his name? His name just slipped. They do just such Chris. I think it's Chris. They do such a good job reviewing the cameras, and they really put them through the test in all the shoots and videos they do and stills. And a lot of times you can hear them go, well, this is really great that Canon did this, but like they did one on the 7D, the professional one, 7D Mark II. 7D Mark II, 5 years after the 70D or after the 7D Mark I came out, the 5 years, the Mark II comes out. It doesn't shoot 4K. It doesn't have any of the latest technology per se. It has a very fast buffer. You could shoot nonstop and the buffer never fills. So that's kind of cool. It shoots a nice, it has, I think, 60 frames per second on, so again, not incredible frames per second for HD. You can do slow motion, but it's not the best. It doesn't have an articulating viewer, screen. So you just go, all right. And why is that only worth $2,000, whereas the C100 is worth, a lot more, but with some additions you can make the other ones almost the same as the C100. They seem weirdly priced. And then when they were all said and done, they said they actually enjoyed shooting on the 70D more.
Yes.
Well, that makes you wonder.
We started the show today. I was just flicking through, and they just posted another review on the new the 5D upgrade.
Oh, I got to look at that.
Because there's a 5D Mark III. This is called the 5 DSR. Not DSD, I think it's called the 5 DSR.
Okay.
And he's just doing a review with that, and they said they're combining the two reviews, reviewing that camera, same time they're shooting with the new Canon 4K video one.
The XC100?
XE10. The
XE10, I'm sorry, XE10.
And it's just quite interesting that everybody seems to have the same view on that one. It says we're filming it with that, but that cameraman doesn't like using it. So.
And what's interesting about that XE10? I watched the Chinese guy digital camera, whatever his podcast. I forgot his podcast name. I like him actually. He's sort of fun.
Yes.
And
Digital Rev TV.
Digital Rev TV. Yeah. And one thing he makes a comment of, and you could see it. It's got one big honking lens in the front on the XE10. So it's extremely noticeable. And he said, I don't want to be really out here shooting with this by myself. It could get stolen. It just really attracts a lot of attention. So that was it was an interesting comment on an XE100, which again is about $3,000, does 4K, doesn't have a lot of extra features, no interchangeable lenses, I don't know. It just didn't seem really worth it. It seems like it's probably an okay camera, but is it great? I don't think so. And you also have to like compact flash cards, which I personally don't. I think they're old. They're not really doing much with compact flash anymore. Now, on the Sony FS7, the FS7 looks like a variation of the C100 Mark II. What would you say?
It does, and I like that form factor. I was just talking to a guy in one of the video shops the other day, and the things that I like with the 100 as well is you can take off the handle grip, so you can have a smaller form factor if you're wanting to put it on stands on stabilizers. But then if you want, you can take the handle off, put it onto a bigger rig, and have your hand, that hand grip further out if you want to go to a traditional rig on the shoulder.
Right.
You can do so many things for that. So when you're spending that sort of money, you've got so many more options. You're not stuck with it. Like, I love my little XA10 here, but if you could take, like, you can take the handle off it, which is great, so you can make it a smaller form factor. But then if you could take the handle thing off, because when you've got it on a tripod and that, you don't need that. And that's what the XA10 and by the looks of it, the Sony one has that same sort of form factor. I haven't really had a too close look at the Sony, well, in person, but I've actually touched the C100. Ooh.
Okay. How'd it feel?
Great. I just want to have one.
Though you know, this week, yesterday actually, I had a revelation. I was sitting going, I can buy a $6,500 C100, which does some stuff. It doesn't do it great. It doesn't do 4K, really, at least not where you have a 4K final result. Or I could buy two high-end other cameras easily with lenses. And I started going, maybe I don't want a C100. I could buy more cameras for less and make more use of it, and I can rent a C100 for less than $500 a day, or for a couple of days or 3 days, whatever they charge. So maybe that's a better bet.
Yeah, but I don't know about you, but I know I can do that. I can rent them, but even if it's $500, I thought, yeah, but if I like it, if I get it twice, that's $1,000.
Sure.
Yeah, if I get it, it's only 7 rentals. I'll have it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm really thinking of, maybe I don't want to buy it. Maybe I want to experiment with some other brands. And I'm not going to buy anything till the end of this year for one reason. I think there'll be new cameras from everyone.
Yes,
so I want to see what's coming out. Like, for example, we got rid of one of our cars, our Infinity. The lease expired back in early June. And we really want to get that second car right now, but we're going to wait till probably September, October, November, because we both want the Lexus... which one is it? The ES350, which is now the Avalon made into a Lexus. And I like it. Oh. And it's, it's kind of middle of the road. Don't have to spend a fortune on it, but it's a very nice quasi-luxury car. And I want to wait for the 2016 model. So if we get one now, in 3 more months, there'll be a new one. So I want to wait and see what they come up with. And if we don't like it, we can always get a new 2015 that hasn't left the lot yet.
Just make sure you get the one that can hack into the entertainment and the car system, so you can stop and start, so somebody else can stop and start it. Can you imagine how much fun Clark can have if he can stop and start your car?
Yeah, you'd have fun.
They said, there they go. I'll switch it off. Let's see when they're going out for lunch. I'll switch the car off.
Yeah, that's not great. Everything's hackable now.
That seems very serious what they're going on about in the media lately with that Chrysler thing being able to hack into the system, because they said computers control a lot.
But you know what? I'm gonna bring it down to humankind. The governments and everything have hacked into the brains of regular stupid people. So there's nothing new hacking into a car. It's just more of the same.
It's more so the dangerous. Oh, it's more so the dangerous things if they can just stop it and steer you off the road. But it's still a bit of fear mongering, I think. Because I think yes, they can hack into a car, but they have to really prepare it. They have to see your car. They have to be inside your car to do it. I don't think they can just quickly dial in remotely and get it without you getting into the car. It's a bit of hype. It sounds really great. Oh, they can hack into your car. So, well, it's not as easy as it sounds.
No, but it makes great news, and everybody's afraid now, like always, and everybody runs around totally terrified of everything.
The thing that annoys me, though, is the people can do all these fantastic things, and then I still have trouble trying to log into the Wi-Fi connection of my Panasonic camera on an Apple device. Yeah, that's so true. I thought somebody can control a space shuttle from their iPhone, but I can't log into a Wi-Fi that you're supposed to be able to log into. Does that annoy you sometimes?
Yeah, it's just pretty amazing. But there's always that one person who can control a spaceship from an iPhone. So that's, what can you say? Now we have some other products we're talking about. What's next?
Well. Before we were starting here, I was just having a look at some footage. Was 2015 drone crashes.
Oh,
and there was a
gosh.
7-minute compilation of it, and it just made me think, I think we've made the right decision
Yes.
not to invest in one of them, because I thought out of that 7 minutes, there was the amount of money that was wasted would be more than I would earn in a lifetime.
And yeah, I mean, I could see maybe and I could see crashing maybe the ones that have the little built-in kind of GoPro-like ones because they're not that expensive. But people are putting $8,000 cameras on these things. I wouldn't do that.
And these ones I was looking at, there were those ones that the Inspire, which is about $4,000 drone itself, and there was crashing. But I mean, some people are so silly. I thought it's so dangerous of crashing into office buildings, power lines, and I thought, you know, I think we should have the freedom to. But you can understand when they say, well, we're going to ban them. It's getting a bit too dangerous.
Well, they are talking about that in some places, to ban them completely because, one, you know, they're worried about people weaponizing these things, and two, they are crashing all over the place. So it's causing a little bit of an issue here. I was just looking
at that, and I thought people just don't go slowly in looking at this. They go full pelt, and they'll lose track of them, and they're aiming them. They think they're doing the right thing, and they're just aiming them into buildings. And
yeah, you know what they're doing? They're practicing for the terrorism they're probably going to do later.
Well, that's, and I think it is a bit of a worry, because you can carry so many deadly things just on a little thing you don't like. Years ago, there would be no threat because the thing that you would have to carry would be so heavy you couldn't do it. But now you just don't need much to do that. And even without anything on it, they can be quite dangerous if you just aimed them into like if you just flew it up and aimed it somewhere in an airport, something, you could cause all sorts of problems just with a plane taking off.
Probably, yeah.
Before anybody can, and they're that small, nobody could shoot them out of the sky.
Not easily.
By the time they saw it.
Right.
Saw it.
Yeah, though it's amazing. They really haven't had that many issues in airports as far as attacks or anything else, so that's good, and which means it's probably not as easy as people think. Though I'm sure planes have been shot. It's just that one bullet usually won't take a plane down. It would have to hit something really, and it's metal, so it's not that easy to break through some of that.
I'm more so meaning if they're just flying out there innocently, and they quite easily get stuck in engines, couldn't they?
Well, it's the birds are the worst. So. Birds get stuck in engines all the time, and there have been crashes because of seagulls and other birds that just cause all sorts of grief. So yeah, you do wonder sometimes. But getting back to the FS7, on the camera store review they said it kind of reminds them of the FS700 they used to use, and the FS5, the big brother of the big daddy of all of them. He goes, it's like the FS5 and the FS700 had a son, and it's the FS7. So that was an interesting comment on their part, but they really liked it. They thought it's sturdy, it's now beautiful, whereas the original FS700 was ugly as sin, with wires coming all over the place. So it looks like a nice camera, but again, $8,000. And that's a lot of money.
But I mean, the Sony, though, it's strange how things go around. But Sony used to be, when you talked about high-end cameras, that's all you ever talked about.
Right.
For broadcast, there was only Sony.
Yep.
And so they do a damn good product, but I think it's slipped in people's minds a bit. But the quality and that still hasn't slipped. But their higher-end product are coming. But 7,000. We cringe at that, but compared to, was it 5 or 6 years ago, that would have been 70, 80,000 or 90,000.
Oh, I know.
For that.
I mean, look at the original Red camera was almost 80,000, and these new cameras can do almost what it did.
And it's just amazing that how lucky we are with the quality we can get out of some of these cameras.
And then we put them on YouTube, and it's crunched down to hell.
Well, that's right. You get all this great quality, and in the end, everybody looks quite the same. I do that. Look at these things, and people are doing this on a $20 webcam, and it just looks the same as everybody else's. So I thought, why bother sometimes?
So sometimes you really wonder. What else do we have? 6 reasons to shoot 4K. Now we've got. How do we do this one?
Just screenshots of it.
So we have a screenshot. As you talk about each point, we've got a screenshot. So Jeff, go into lecture mode.
Well, one of the things I was saying about why to shoot the 4K, and a lot of things, it makes your 1080p footage much sharper.
Right.
And one of the things I do like, and I'll try to do a bit with, is you can do a lot more panning and zooming in on your shot in post, rather than having to zooming, because I don't know about you, but I hate filming and zooming in at the same time. It just doesn't look very nice, even though you cut it out in post. I just like to have a nice steady shot, and then if I do want to get in there, I can do like the Ken Burns effect, move it over, because you're doing the 4K. You've got the image size, and then you can just keyframe it and just pan it across to the side as well.
Right. Was that
and
the
also
first,
with
was
the
that,
four?
Was that point one?
Oh, well, I think point 1 and 2.
Point 1 and 2.
On
okay.
there. So I'm just going off with not reading anything, just going off my head.
Ah, okay.
But also as well with the 4K, you've got it with the high end quality. The stabilizing in say Adobe Premiere works much better.
Mm-hmm.
The pixel size, I didn't realize this until reading this. The pixel size is much bigger.
It is.
So it makes it much easier to stabilize. Whereas on a standard 1080p, it will stabilize it, but it won't be as good.
Right, and
so
that's why you retain.
That
And that's why you retain so much color too, because of the bigger pixels.
And I didn't realize that until I saw this article on F-Stopper, and that's what I said. I always refer to, like we said, about the Philip Bloom things. These not always our thoughts. Quite often things that we've seen out in there in the press. And F-Stopper did an excellent article. We went into much more detail than I did, but he's just saying about cropping the footage in post, which I'd already talked about, and the pans and the zooms, and enabling you to. This is another thing I like to do with it. You can use that to record your A and your B shots as well. So you do an interview with somebody just sat there, but then you can zoom in on a shot and that with just one shot, rather than having to have the two cameras in there. But it's the sort of thing where everybody's been saying, "Oh, well, you don't need the 4K," but that's where like the Canon C100, it gets pretty close to the same sort of things you're getting with the 4K.
Right.
But like we've always said, and I know you do, and same as I do, I don't always go on specs. I go on the end result, because something that's higher spec, not all the time does the best job. Like you look at your mobile phone, sometimes it's got 4K, it's got these high spec, but it doesn't do a very good job
because the lenses are too small.
Yeah, but as I said, it's highly spec'd, and I think we're driven in this world by high specifications. It takes me back to the Windows 286 days. And, remember those days when they had very little power? But really, when you look at what you do with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, you probably could still do what you used to do on the 286.
Probably.
But it's the same as the things do on this. You have to have more memory and more capacity. And same thing with cameras. You get the better quality, but it's certainly at a point where you need that extra storage. But storage these days is becoming so much more cheaper. I remember years ago when I did work at Sony, we had the 1 gigabyte, I think it was, it was 1 gigabyte memory stick, I think it was, and that was at the time $90,000, and they said nobody's going to pay for that. And now it's 100 megabytes. It was at the time $80,000.
I know, it's amazing.
And now 100 megabytes, you get that for about 5 cents. Nobody wants it.
Now, what division of Sony did you work for?
The consumer sales division.
Okay, so that was involving cameras and everything else.
That was one of my main responsibilities there, was looking after all the camera stores in Victoria.
Interesting.
So
now, did you work on
supplying?
Did you work back then with the Mavicas? Remember those floppy-driven cameras?
I was there when they launched that, and it was such how exciting! And I just think back now,
we had two of them.
A big chunky square box that took a 1 1/4 inch disc in there, and we was enthralled with it, and you could get about 40 pictures on a floppy disk.
We used to do photo shoots with about 40 floppies. One person was 40 floppies.
As I said, I was there when they did it was the launch of that, and it was just such a fantastic sort of camera, and just that's when the images was great for people to use, but the quality, you still couldn't compare it to a normal film camera back then.
Not yet.
But compared to what there was out there was nothing else out there. All the other things just had
and it took about,
you couldn't
what, about 5 to 30 seconds to write back to the floppy.
Yeah,
I remember those days. It was fun. We used to do a lot of photo shoots, and that Mavica did a ton of photo shoots for us. We probably filmed 40 to 100 people on those things, not filmed, but took shots of, and it was fun. It was actually pretty interesting. $1,000 per camera for a floppy,
and that was really good at that time. That was good cheap value for that sort of thing, because it was just, I think it was the same sort of time where Apple had the Newton.
Yes.
Remember the Newton?
Yes, that was one of Jobs' biggest flops.
But then again, it was just ahead of its time. It's a bit like Nokia.
Right.
They had, before that, they had a mobile phone with a keyboard that you could access the internet.
Yeah.
The only problem was the internet wasn't there back then, or what was out there, it cost you $500 to access it for a minute so from your mobile device. So that flopped out. But I mean, it's just strange how technologies come around a lot. So.
Yep. Now I think we have one more thing that you wanted to talk about. The Adobe fixes.
Oh, well, I was just noticing, I don't know if you've noticed, but the Creative Cloud just switched on, and I think every product's been updated since its major upload. So, and I know there's a lot of little bugs in mainly people are noticing with Premiere Pro, because I suppose that's what the product that probably gets used in depth the most on that. So,
I don't know if they move Premiere. A lot of people don't realize that Adobe does a lot of the products in India now. And, the Indian people are very nice people. They're really lovely. They're not the most rigorous engineers as a group. The mentality is throw many people at it rather than throw the right people at it. So when you have a team of 70 or 100 people, they're not going to be as productive or as accurate as a team of 5 or 10. And I think that's part of what they're going through. So I don't know if Premiere went to India. I know Illustrator's there. If Photoshop goes there, if Adobe moves their main products to India, I think that's going to be the end of Adobe by the time we're done, because somebody will eventually come around to be competition. Because as it is, Adobe doesn't generate a lot of love from the community nowadays. They're pretty angry. If you talk to community people and what's going on, they don't feel like Adobe cares much. So it's not to bash Adobe. This is just the reality of what's going on out there right now. Quality is low. And it's starting to get low in more products than just the original products that move there. There's a lot of products there now, and unfortunately they're getting more and more buggy. So just something to keep in mind.
And I think it just, one of the reasons it may be is because with the subscription model, they can throw things out a little bit quicker, and whereas before they couldn't afford to do it that much because it was costing too much to do another release. Whereas just they can do it there and then fix everybody, and everybody's always hooked up to it to get the latest upgrade on that. But,
but even then, But what I think they mess up is that they assume that everybody wants quick releases all the time, because let's face it, the majority of people don't keep up with the releases. They get them, but they don't know what's new. They don't really know how to keep up with a lot of this stuff, and by the time they're done, they've got 3 new releases. They don't really know what's new in any of them. They have to go on the internet to find out what's new. And do they need that? And let's face it, a lot of the stuff people don't need. They're the more advanced arcane features that are great, but are they really needed for productivity? Not necessarily. And so I'd say slow it down back to a year and a half. Make the releases solid. Don't just put out stuff that maybe does or doesn't work.
Well, that annoys me with a lot of software. I sit down and go and learn a particular piece of software, and by the time I've understood it and get it into action, they replace that feature. It's something new, and then they redo the whole thing again. So that's where I always say to people, don't spend months, days learning a product. Have a project, learn what you need to do. And then go on to the next thing, because it does 1,001 things, but just learn the 50 things you need to, because it'll be changed by your next product.
And that's a very good point, because the software is not stable nowadays. We have, for example, Adobe Captivate, which you and I have both worked on, it has had a new interface almost every version that's come out. There's always a new UI. People don't like that. People don't want to learn new UIs. You can add features to a UI, but every time you change it drastically, that throws 50 to 75% of the people off. and they don't want to learn. They don't want to have to go back and relearn what they know. You know, you look at PowerPoint from Microsoft. It may not be perfect. It's a pretty good tool, but it hasn't changed that much in terms of the average look and feel. It's still consistent.
Yes.
And that's what companies like Adobe aren't quite getting. Now, they're fairly consistent in some of the products, but not all of them. And it's just sort of interesting. I'm curious where Adobe goes in the future. They seem more interested in Omniture and analytics than they do in media right now. It's hard to say. It's just hard to say. I also pay attention to what's going on with the evangelists, the ones doing the articles. I'm not seeing as many of them like I used to. Either they're gone or they're just not that active. So something is definitely not what it used to be. So it's something I think that Adobe needs to be aware of. Either they care or they don't. And if they don't, good luck, because other companies have gone under not caring. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
And I've also been trying to, this week, trying to learn a bit more about InDesign. I'm wanting to try and implement, see how I can use that in e-learning, and thinking about the EPUB side of it. So what do you think? What do you use InDesign for anything else?
It's been a while I've used InDesign. I just don't do that much publishing anymore. I've played with the newer versions. I haven't really used them for a lot of production work. I think the last time I used InDesign seriously was probably 2-3 years ago. It can do a lot of things, and especially with EPUB. It's a little more complex than you probably need for EPUB. If you look at most EPUB books, they're written in Word because it's quick and easy. Now, if you're doing picture books or anything else, they're doing PowerPoint EPUB books right now. So the more comprehensive books, the interactive books, I guess you could do with InDesign and probably have a better result. But there is it's a large learning curve right now for InDesign. It always has been somewhat complex. It's gotten much more complex as we've gotten there. And also Adobe has FrameMaker, which is also very complex, a high learning curve, which is used for tech writing, but you don't hear much about that one anymore. That's one of the abandoned. It's there, but it's not that popular, or at least that pushed by Adobe anymore. But InDesign is a powerful product and it can do a lot of stuff. But I'm not sure it's as used. I'm sure in publishing it's used a lot. I don't know about electronic or digital publishing. I know in magazines, there's a lot of electronic magazines that are used on Zinio, for example. They use InDesign, but they use other tools too. So I'm not sure what the percentage is of Adobe versus other vendors, though I do like InDesign. I think it's really well written. And if you have the time to learn it, it's a very productive, cool tool. But again, it's not something you're going to learn in 5 minutes. So, in fact, we have a new show. That's it. Thanks for the. We're going to have a new show soon with Pariah Burke, who's going to be doing all sorts of stuff with InDesign.
Oh,
so that's going to be
watching that with interest.
Yeah, he's going to be coming out with that soon. He and I are talking next week, and we've been talking a little bit throughout the last several months, and now we're going to get serious about it. So that's going to be coming up soon. That should be fun.
Well, the thing is, why I'm looking at the InDesign as well is since I've been into Muse, that's a similar interface, but like a cut-down version of InDesign. But now I've gone back to InDesign, and after using Muse, InDesign seems a lot easier than I thought before.
Right, and Muse is used to the and Muse is brilliant because it was written by the InDesign team.
And that's the thing is, if you learn InDesign, I can still use that in Muse. But what I like with InDesign is the interactive PDFs I could create because you can put buttons on it and do all sorts of things. But I'll see how I go. But I'm one of these people. I pay my Creative Cloud subscription, and I want to get as much money out of it. So if I learn it, I'm using it in there. I feel as though it's justified. I hate having something they're never ever using.
Right.
So
and there's so many products
in Pariah's thing.
And there's so many products in the Creative Cloud. I think there's about 20 something. How many do you really use? 4, 5, 6? I mean, that's a lot of products. Now, interesting. I've been seriously giving thought to creating e-learning with Muse because it's really there. I mean, you've got everything you need to create e-learning courses.
Yep, you have really, haven't you?
Full navigation, perfect HTML, beautiful looking screens, easy with the flowchart to create your lessons. Each lesson could be a different menu item. And you could do some good stuff with that.
Yeah, it's like, as you said, though, it's just getting over that learning curve, because it will take you some time to figure it out.
But it's still easier than Captivate. It's easier than all the other e-learning tools. So my prediction is that Muse will become an official e-learning tool in the next 6 months.
Well, as I said, we've been saying with Captivate, Captivate's the only one that sort of has no relationship to any other Adobe product.
No, or to itself.
It looks different, whereas, it should be part of sort of feel to all the InDesign, the Premiere Pro, at least all the Photoshop.
Well, they took the Flash interface, which is unfortunate, but at that time when they first started with it, it was the Flash interface, not a good one. It used to be more like PowerPoint, but it moved on, so they lost a lot of the people who are PowerPoint people. They don't get it. It's just, and it's inconsistent, but I mean, it's still a good product in many ways, but it's inconsistent. And it's a little bit buggy, though. It's gotten better.
It's like everything with all this software. We can't live with just one. I think we all have at least a Captivate Lectora. We'll have all the Adobe other things like the Photoshops. But you need everything for each project. I think because you make something in here and put it in that. You need all of them. You can't just survive on one.
Well, that's also why we have how many cameras each? A lot.
Sorry, what's that?
I said we have a lot of cameras. That's the same idea. You need, each camera does a slightly different thing. Now, I tell you, what's your portable camera of choice? Are you taking the FZ1000 as your portable camera of choice?
Yep, that's what my favorite is.
And my portable of choice is the LX100 from Panasonic. If it only had a mic input, it would probably be my main camera of choice because it's such a powerful little camera. It has the same sensor as the GH4 in that little body. It's just pretty cool.
It's amazing.
And the picture quality is just mind-numbing. It looks so much better than that. I would say probably the 70D and some of the other Canons. It just looks darn good for a little $1,000 camera. It's amazing.
Well, I'm definitely, as I said before, I'm waiting to see what Canon does with the 70D. Because I want to upgrade my 60D, but I don't want to yet because I know there's going to
be something new soon. But you know what? It's interesting. I went to look for a firmware update on Saturday. Canon has not had in a little over 2 years any firmware update on the 70D. None. Zero. Zilch. And I was going, wow, that's really odd. And you go to the forums. I went to one forum. One guy goes, F you, Canon. F you. You haven't had enough F. And everything was F, 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 F. I was going, geez. Unhappy user there.
I was taking the other thing on the other way of thinking there hasn't been an update for 2 years because it's such a perfect camera it didn't need
No,
one.
but it isn't. For example, they have really, to me, it's a crappy codec. They're using a QuickTime movie codec. There's no real other good codec on it. I'd love to see an MP4 coming out of it. So, they haven't done any of that. And it would be nice to see better codecs coming out of that. Either that or I missed them completely, which is possible, and things like that happen. But I didn't see it. Every time I go in there, I don't see anything that looks like an MP4 or anything like that. I mean, H.264. They're sticking to the old QuickTime movie on this one, which are huge. We did... What was that? We did a couple of 3 to 4 minute podcasts for our other show, Lectora Live Tutorials, and they were 1.2 gigabytes for 3 minutes.
Oh yes, because you did say they were done on the 70. That's right, because they were only small tutorials.
They're huge.
That was big, wasn't it?
They're huge, and we're going. Why is it 1. I mean, we don't need a 1. This is 2 to 3 minutes. And by the way, when you convert it down, it's about 50 megabytes. So 1.2 gigs to 50 megabytes. I don't know. I would like something where we don't have to, because that means we have to cross encode it. That's why.
No, I didn't realize it did it in MOV. I thought it was always the MP4, but
no,
no, it wasn't.
Everything came out as MOV, right? Yeah, everything was MOV, and it's not like they're doing a high-end MOV. It's a nice, but it's not. It's just not 422 or anything like that. It's just or 10-bit color. It's just a nice MOV, but that's huge size, and which means that takes a lot longer to process it. Because now, it doesn't take that long, but I mean, you have to now go render it. Whereas on some of the other cameras, you come out with an MP4, you don't have to do anything. You put it up on YouTube. YouTube can mash it as much as it wants, but you have less work to do.
Well, it's like those, you see my background on there.
Yes.
That came from video. all MOV files, and the first thing you have to do is convert them to MP4s.
I know,
because Wirecast won't take MOVs in.
They got rid of that. They won't support it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you know, QuickTime is deprecating MOVs. They're not going to be doing it in the future. They're killing QuickTime. And nobody uses They're going to use MP4s.
Well, and that's understandable because everybody is MP4, and I think they're a bit more manageable as well. So
yeah.
But don't have half the trouble with MP4s as you do sometimes with the MOVs.
No, that's true. Well, Jeff, we are at the end of our time, and it goes fast. Yep, we've been on for almost 50 minutes. Over 50 minutes. It goes fast.
I just know how quick it can go. When I did a test last night myself on Wirecast and did streaming on Ustream, I went 10 minutes by 10 minutes just talking to myself.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Now, if you had waited, you could have answered yourself. It would have been 20. You would have had a full show.
Yeah. Just imagine if we had a guest every now and then. That's what would just go on.
No, I'm trying to get guests. I'm trying to get Peter Gregg on. I love Peter Gregg. Have you seen Peter Gregg?
I don't know.
Okay, Peter Gregg, Gregg, www.petergregg.com. Go to YouTube. He's got his channel. He's just fun. He's fun. He's a good guy. He does really good reviews. He's sort of hilarious. Has a good sense of humor. I like the guy. Peter Gregg. I'm trying to get a hold of him. I've sent him LinkedIn.
All right. Yeah.
I've went to his store and left a message. So far, nothing. It's been a week and a half. So I don't know if it's getting to him or not. I'm trying to get a hold of him. He lives in Florida, so maybe I'll try to track him down that way. I want to get the camera store guys in, at least one of them, Chris or one of the other guys, to talk about their stuff. And I also am I'm going to get a hold of, what's his name? Matt from Art of the Image. I like him. He's okay. He does good reviews, and he's from Canada too. So we're going to try to get some more people on. So we got Peter Gregg. I've got some other people who said they are going to come on. They just need it not at this moment because they were busy. So we're going to have some more guests soon. And the good thing is they're all into the same things we're into cameras, video, photo. And it'll be fun to see some of their experiences and some of their opinions of what to buy and what not to buy. Because nobody really knows what to buy anymore. You have a lot of choices. And all of these camera lines, we talked about this last week, just cause a lot of line confusion. Why do you have five cameras that all do almost the same thing except for taking one or two stupid features out? It just makes no sense. Why don't you just make three in the line instead of five and make them more valuable, or charge less for one and more people would buy it? I don't know. It's weird. They're all doing this. So it's line confusion. Yeah,
that's right. And you said I quite often go online and they say look at reviews of what people say, but they're not very reliable because the only time a lot of people do reviews is when they've got a problem and they're annoyed with the product they've bought.
I know.
And the venting and it's but yeah, there's 500,000 of these sold and there's 2,000 people unhappy with it. And so people say, oh, definitely, yeah, but there's another 40,000 who are happy with it. So,
yeah, and for the most part, and I hate the YouTube reviews, not YouTube, but the Amazon reviews where they give it a 1 star because the delivery was 1 day late. What does that have to do with the product? You idiots! Right. And I wish YouTube would just, Amazon would get rid of those stupid reviews because all they do is bring down a good product because some idiot doesn't like the shipping. Come on, it's just dumb.
But anybody is, you look at things, and if a product doesn't have bad reviews, nobody's bought it.
Right.
That's what I look at it, and people say, "Oh, that's got a bad review." I said, "Well, if you've got a thing that hasn't got any bad reviews, it means they've only sold 10 of them so far." I said, "When you sell 50,000 or 5, anything like that, there's going to be bad units in there. People are going to be annoyed. You cannot have 100% satisfaction."
No, that's true.
How many millions and millions of sold of that, and how many? There's tens of thousands of people who've got problems and bad things, but there's hundreds of millions of people who haven't. So
I know, it's interesting.
There's going to be problems with it. It's electronics. You can't avoid it.
So our advice to you this week is, if you're going to write an Amazon review and you're going to talk about shipping, don't write an Amazon review. You're going to bother everybody. Just don't buy from them and leave it at that. Make the world better. Anyway, Jeff, have a good one. We will see you next week. Maybe we'll have a guest next week. I'm working on it.
Oh, hopefully.
My fingers are crossed. I will get someone. I may just pick somebody off the street and go, "You want to be a guest?" So, but we will have a guest.
I was thinking that. I was thinking going into the city and just getting people and saying, "I'm just doing an interview for Tech Down Over."
Oh, and they'll talk to you.
Electronics.
They'll talk to you. That would be fun if we could run one of those segments. We could do the same thing over here. That might actually be fun.
I'll just go back. Get enough guts to do that. But then
it's always easier. Go with the dog. And then only interview women. You'll be a hit. You'll be a hit. Just interview women with the dog. You'll have a new girlfriend, and the dog will have more people loving him. So
then there'll be a story on the news. It's this 50-year-old man walking with a dog, looking suspicious, asking women as they go past. And I thought, yeah, I can see that happening.
Yes, but you'll wind up a winner. Have a good one, Jeff. We will see you next week. And if you're watching the show, please press the like button. We like that. Yeah. And subscribe. If you don't subscribe, we won't know who you are and you won't know who we are. So just subscribe. It makes us feel good. Trust me. And you'll feel good too. Every week you'll know who we are, where we are, what we're doing. It's kind of scary, actually, but subscribe anyway. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.